A temporary auto call worker called Jeff rescues an interior designer called Kelly by talking to her on the emergency call. The two of them seem to hit it off just by the call itself, so they believe that they should explore the spark that happens through the call. However, fate keeps playing with them and they keep missing each other. The question is, will they finally meet or will destiny keep them apart? In the opening scene, we get to see the firm where Jeff is supposed to work. It is a very chaotic environment and the workers seem to be acting like at home. We get to see Kelly as well. She is an attractive interior designer with dark brown eyes and hair. One interesting thing about Kelly is that she loves the color red, so we can see that she is dressed in red, and all of her things are red. Getting into her red rented car, she clicks the button on the rearview mirror and the auto call pilot can be heard. She asks the auto-generated voice to take her to interior motivation design firm, and it takes her there. As previously mentioned, fate plays with their destiny and she passes Jeff as he's getting out of his car to go to the cafe where his friend works. We get to see Jeff, a tall handsome guy with sharp features and brown eyes. He gets into the cafe where his friend Zach's working. He is a charming handsome barista. He orders his usual, which is a large cappuccino. At work, Kelly gets approached by her coworker and bestie Rachel, who asks whether she has any plans that evening. Rachel is a charming young woman who always pushes Kelly to do better and wants the best for her. Kelly admits to never having any plans, so Rachel takes the chance to ask her to go out with a guy on a date that weekend. The guy is a friend of a friend and he is recently divorced. Jeff sits down to enjoy his coffee when he reveals that he has gotten a new job. Excitingly, he tells Zach all about his new job at AutoCall, but Zach doesn't understand how someone with Jeff's credentials can work at a call center. Jeff asks him not to underestimate the job as it can be helpful to people. He wants to try some new jobs, so branching out could be a good change. Taking the opportunity for changes, Zach reveals that he had gotten him a date for the evening at the Italian restaurant. Jeff asks him to cancel it at first, but Zach gives him a look that confirms his suspicion, which is that he has to go as the date will be expecting him. Seeking revenge, Jeff takes the cup of cappuccino, which is Zach's favorite cup, and claims to never return it. At the auto call, Jeff is greeted by Dave, the CEO, who introduces him to everyone and lets him know about everything. Getting into the office, he sees that he'll be working with many other people, and the only space he gets is a small cubicle. Unfortunately for him, the big book of information is only an old copy, so his boss goes to grab the new version for him. Jeff notices that everyone is relaxed in the office, but one individual catches his attention. Standing behind him, he sees that the guy isn't working, but playing a game of cards on his computer. The guy quickly pretends that he's talking to a customer in need of assistance, but soon realizes that it isn't his boss standing over him. He introduces himself as Tom and is surprised to see Jeff in a suit. Jeff tells him all about his previous job, and like everyone else, Tom can't believe that Jeff has winded up at a call center. In the evening, Kelly goes to the date, who seems to be only interested in his job because that's all he talks about. Rachel is spying on them when a guy named Zach asks if he can sit next to her. Of course, she lies about waiting for someone, but Zach sits down either way. He claims that it's his reservation but promises to leave once her date comes over. Rachel admits that she's lying and tells the truth about spying on Kelly. Zach reveals that he is going to do the same once Jeff arrives, and asks where Kelly's seated. Turning around, he sees that Kel is bored out of her mind, but Rachel claims that the guy is perfect for her. Kelly is forced to lie her way out about having a client in the morning as the guy asks whether she wants to have dessert. Jeff enters the restaurant at the same time they're leaving, so he holds the door for Kelly, not knowing that she'll change his life soon. Jeff asks for the reservation and the hostess tells him that his date has already arrived. Looking over, he realizes that the date is about to be a total disaster as he sees the girl flirting with the waiter. Returning home, he sits in his house disappointed and tries to forget the whole night. The next morning, Kelly lets Rachel know that she had no chemistry with the guy she was on a date with. Rachel wants to make it up to her, but Kelly asks her to leave her alone as all she wants to do is focus on work. Before leaving to work with the new client Susan, she asks Rachel for good luck, but little does she know what's about to happen. She arrives at the address and goes to the back to take her things out when she sees that all of them have fallen off the bags. Unfortunately, once she goes back to the front, she pushes the gear stick to drive with her body, and the car starts moving. She panics and her leg gets tangled as the car slides down the hill, hitting the trees at the end. The car has a built-in auto call service, so the car calls the service immediately. Jeff answers on the line, and even though it's his first call, he can help Kelly. He tells her that the sensors have indicated that the airbag has been deployed, and asks her whether everything's okay. Kelly claims that she's fine, but reveals that her ankle got stuck in the accident. She asks for help and Jeff makes sure to calm her down. Emergency services are called and help is on the way, but Kelly asks Jeff to stay on the line and talk to her. It is her first time being in an accident, so Jeff asks her whether there's something he can do to make things easier for her. Kelly admits that she's embarrassed, but Jeff assures her that there's nothing to be embarrassed about. Trying to lighten the mood, he asks her to tell him something about her family. Unfortunately, Kelly's parents are back east and her ex-fiancé cheated on her. Jeff apologizes for asking such a question and suggests they try something else. As the conversation progresses, more and more co-workers come into the office to hear Jeff's first call. He asks Kelly about her hobbies and what she likes to do for fun. Kelly likes to watch old movies, more specifically black and white, romantic comedies, musicals, and film noir. Surprised by her answer, Jeff admits to never seeing a black and white movie, and Kelly claims that he's missing out on a lot. Jeff talks about his reading hobby, and even though he's embarrassed at first, he admits to reading Mandroid Time Machine. Seems like the two of them have a lot in common as Kelly finishes the name as Jeff saying it. Surprised, he asks her how she knows about the book, and she lets him know that they're making the book into a movie. Admitting that his assistance is helping, Kelly compliments Jeff on how good he is at his job. Flattered, Jeff thanks her for the kind words and reveals that he is new at it. Kelly asks him jokingly whether she's his first emergency call, and he returns the same energy as he jokes about saving a piece of paper from a jammed printer. She calls him funny and assumes that he makes his wife laugh a lot, but Jeff reveals that he's not married. He reveals that he was married, but his wife passed away a few years ago. Feeling awful, Kelly apologizes for asking such a question, but he assures her that it's okay because she didn't know. Luckily, Kelly gets her leg out of her safety belt and sits on the seat. She thanks Jeff for the assistance and claims that she doesn't need any emergency help. Jeff makes sure that everything is ready before he wishes her a great day and ends the call. Cheers and claps can be heard in the office as Jeff hangs up the call. The new worker has made his mark. Rachel gets a call from Susan asking where Kelly is for their scheduled appointment, but even Rachel can't reach her. Just as Susan's about to leave her house, Kelly shows up with the sweat all over her and a sprained ankle. They get into the house and Susan rushes to show her around. Looking around the living room, Kelly suggests they play around with the natural elements and add some wood accents. Susan thinks that the ideas are interesting. However, she asks for a mock-up to see how it would all look. Kelly promises her to have a mock-up ready and not to be late again. After finishing his first day at the new job, Jeff goes to Zach's cafe to tell him all about his first emergency call. Jeff is fascinated by how he was able to help Kelly and feels like a superhero. However, he reveals that his old boss had asked him to talk about his new job. Rachel takes Kelly back home after work and helps her with her sprained ankle. Kelly admits to thinking about Jeff, calling him nice and funny. Rachel lets her know that they read off a script, but Kelly claims that it was honest and real and that they had a connection. The next morning, Jeff goes to talk to his old boss and he lets him know that his job position is waiting for him. He reveals that he had told Jeff's former colleagues that he has taken a break and that he'll be back soon. Jeff looks at him with an annoyed look and admits to not being sure whether he'd come back. Getting into the office, his former boss reveals that they've landed the banned Energy Tea deal. To advertise it, he suggests they do a taste test campaign. Jeff starts laughing as he finds it funny for them to have a taste test as a form of advertising. He suggests they add a series of fresh ads in the offices of Young, his business. He starts passionately explaining what they should do and realizes that he had fallen into his trap and proved his point, which is that Jeff belongs in the world of advertising. Before Jeff leaves, his former boss reminds him that his job is waiting for him and asks him to think about it. Kelly can't seem to get Jeff out of her mind, so she decides to call the auto-call customer service hotline. She asks for Jeff, but the lady on the line reveals that the company is nationwide and they're calling from Kansas. Kelly asks if there's any way she can retrieve the call, but the lady tells her that she can't since the car was a rental. Disappointed, she thanks the assistant for her help before hanging up. Rachel goes to Zach's cafe and is surprised to see him there since she didn't know that he was the owner. He gives her an iced latte on the house and she sits down to drink it. Receiving a message from Kelly, her face lights up as she finds out that Jeff isn't from Kansas. Zach notices her smiling, so he tells her that her stalking skills are showing on her face. Rachel thinks that she's not doing anything wrong as she is only helping her friend with some extra information. Jeff sits in the living room watching a movie until he finally gets the courage to call Kelly. He finds the call information in Kelly's number, so he decides to dial it. After practicing his speech many times, he finally clicks the call button. Unfortunately, an automated voice message comes through and lets him know that the rental car is no longer in service of Kelly. Calling himself an idiot, he exits the building disappointed. Rachel, being the best friend that she is, tries to find out who Jeff is. Going to the auto call building, she asks Lauren, the assistant, to tell her who Jeff is. Despite asking her politely, Rachel's request gets rejected as Lauren claims that the information is confidential. Not taking a no for an answer, Rachel runs up the stairs to get to the offices, but gets thrown out by the security guards. Kelly gets to have another meeting with Susan where she shows more professionalism. She provides the mock-ups, does a great job explaining, and even manages to change Susan's mind about some things. Showing the brick wall that's added to the mock-up, she claims that it would bring a lot of color and texture to the room. Susan agrees and admits that she likes it, but she isn't fully sure, and that's why she had contacted some other interior designers. Kelly assures her that it's fine and thanks her for the second opportunity. Despite being late for work, Rachel has to find a way to get Jeff and Kelly together. Fortunately for her, Tom, Jeff's coworker, passes her by, and she asks him to give Kelly's number to Jeff. He promises to do so but does the complete opposite. Rachel goes to the office to share the exciting news with Kelly, but little does she know what Tom's about to pull. She reveals that she went to the center and gave her number to Tom, so he can give it to Jeff. Kelly panics and claims that her idea is humiliating as Jeff would think that she's desperate and would never call her. Rachel claims that there's no need to be upset as it is something that she wanted. Kelly is left speechless as Rachel returns to work like she didn't just tell her the latest news. The next day at work doesn't seem too heroic to Jeff. He finds himself dealing with rude clients and weird orders, like someone ordering pizza through the auto call button. He tries to complain to Tom and he advises him not to expect to save someone every 10 minutes. He admits that accidents do happen, but most of the time people don't feel the need to call emergency services. Jeff can't help but admit how great the call with Kelly felt and how amazing it was. Tom claims that it is because she was his first and that he'll always remember his first call. Still, Jeff doesn't believe that his job won't be as heroic as he thought it would be. Tom assures him that he does help people after all. He helps them with their cars, guides them to the nearest gas stations, and even diagnoses their vehicles. Assisting an actual roadside emergency is something that doesn't happen often, thankfully. But when it does, it is something life-changing, claims Tom. Seeing Jeff still confused, Tom suggests they go to lunch and claims to have something to tell him. "I can't believe he wants to go out with me," is what Jeff says, and Tom assumes that he knew she liked him. He's not sure about going as he doesn't even know anything about her, but Tom thinks that that's what the dates are for. Tom sees it as a great opportunity, having such an attractive girl wanting to go on a date. Jeff claims that she only likes him because of the call and admits to not being so smooth on actual dates. Tom claims that good-looking women do not like to wait, and as long as he is waiting, his opportunity is shrinking. He gives him the phone number and makes him promise to call her in the evening. After work, Jeff can be seen playing golf with Zach. As they're playing, Zach asks whether it was 3 years ago on that same day that Jeff's wife passed away, and Jeff confirms it. Trying to make him feel better, he reveals that it took his mother 4 years after his father's death to sleep in the middle of the bed. The good thing about it is that she realized accepting the fact that he is gone does not mean that she's abandoning him. Jeff claims that he hasn't abandoned Cassie, but Zach claims that he is just being hard on himself getting a job related to her accident. He reminds him that she would have wanted him to find someone special. Jeff appreciates his advice and asks him not to worry about his life too much. However, he admits to getting someone's number and plans to call her that evening. That same evening, Kelly gets a call from Jeff asking her to go on a date the following evening. Hanging up the call, she starts jumping up and down from excitement. The next day, we see Kelly and Jeff getting ready for the date as they make sure to look and sound as good as they can. Kelly's door rings and we can see Jeff standing on the porch. However, the plot twists as we see that they're not going on a date with each other. Opening the door, we see Tom in front of Kelly and he presents himself as Jeff. On the other side, we see Jeff in front of Lori's house as she opens the door. Taking the flowers that he had brought her, Kelly goes to put them in a vase in the kitchen. Coming out of the kitchen, she sees Tom laying on the couch while a sports game plays on the TV. He acts like he's home as he puts his cowboy boots on Kelly's red pillows. Trying to be nice, she compliments his shoes and asks whether he's ready to go to the restaurant. Love is in the air for Rachel and Zach as they bump into each other at a party. He is catering the party as he wants his cafe to branch out and be more than just a neighborhood coffee shop. Rachel thinks that it is a cool idea and a party is a great place to start. She reveals that she's there because she and Kelly decorated the place, but she's alone because Kelly's on a date. As the date progresses for Jeff and Lori, he realizes that they're not clicking. He is someone who loves working and she is only doing her job to have enough money to go out. He reveals that he likes science fiction and claims that he can read it all night long, but she doesn't know how to reply to that. Meanwhile, Tom and Kelly arrive at the restaurant. Tom didn't know that you had to make a reservation, so they got seated at the bar and waited for somebody to leave. It is not just his attitude Kelly finds strange, it is his voice as well. She claims that it sounded different through the phone, but he makes up a lie about how the headsets distort everything and claims that she sounded different on the phone call as well. Trying to keep the conversation going, Jeff asks Lori about her hobbies and what she likes to do. She admits that she is mildly addicted to online poker and claims to be really good at it. Kelly does the same as she's the only one asking questions. She asks Tom where he's from and he reveals that he is from a small town in Nevada, just south of Vegas. He admits to going to Vegas with his friends all the time to gamble and party. She doesn't want to judge his lifestyle, but it is completely different from hers. As he goes to check on the table, Jeff comes to the bar to ask for lemon wedges. He accidentally bumps into Kelly and starts apologizing immediately. He orders the lemon wedges and Kelly finds his voice familiar. She stares at him, inspecting his features and trying to remember where she knows him from. He leaves the bar and Tom comes back only to ask Kelly if she wants to go somewhere else. Kelly uses one of her famous excuses, and that is that she has a client meeting early in the morning. Returning home, she tries to be honest with him about not having a good time when he tries to kiss her. Pushing him off, she admits that he is not the guy she thought he was. She slowly closes the door on him, apologizing for everything and claiming that it isn't his fault. Jeff and Lori's date goes bad, but instead of being awkward, both of them admit that they didn't click and there's no one to blame for it. They hug it out and wish each other a good night. At the party, Rachel sits on her phone anxiously waiting for updates from Kelly when Zach approaches her. He notices that she's not having a good time and she admits that she's nervous about her friend's date. The reason why she's nervous is that her ex cheated on her friend and she wants her dates to go well. They've known each other since they were kids and she cares about her a lot. She also wants to be available if there's any need to call and pretend that she's sick, so Kelly can leave. Zach is shocked by the harsh truth and Rachel lets him know that it is very much real. He advises her not to neglect her happiness just because she wants everyone around her to be happy. To make sure she has an amazing rest of the night, he suggests she gives the phone to him and if there's a need for an emergency he will let her know. She finally hands her phone to him and goes to enjoy the party. The next morning, Jeff comes to the coffee shop distressed. He admits that he's not as thrilled about the job as he used to be, but Zach claims that he's lucky as he has another job opportunity knocking on his door. The morning doesn't seem so good for Kelly as she makes Rachel promise to mind her own business and retract from matchmaking, as the date had gone more than horrible. Jeff gets asked by Tom about the date as well, but surprisingly he suggests that Tom should take Lori on a date as they have a lot in common. As they're discussing, Jeff gets an emergency call. A man on the line apologizes for clicking the button accidentally and Jeff notices that the call is from the same car Kelly had called. He asks for her and the man reveals that the car is a rental. Hanging up the call, he immediately heads to the rental shop to find Kelly's last name. Walking to the register, he lies about Kelly being his girlfriend and asks for an invoice for the rental. However, he is caught in a lie once the lady asks for Kelly's surname. He tries to be honest with the lady but gives up once he realizes that it's a dumb idea. Meanwhile, Kelly struggles with the internet in the office, so she decides to go to Zach's coffee shop to work. Unfortunately, while talking to Susan on the phone, she tells her that she wants to work with another interior designer as she thinks that Kelly is not experienced enough. Luckily, she persuades her by mentioning the beautiful decorative pillows and the vintage stunning clawfoot bathtub. Returning to work, Jeff gets a call on his headset, and it's his former boss. He asks him whether he had thought about the job as another candidate wanted the position. Jeff is confused as to why he's getting the call, but his former boss admits that everyone wants him back. In the letter he had sent him was an offer that couldn't be declined. He asks Jeff to think about it and let him know the following day as that is how much time they have left until a new worker has to replace him. Same as always, he goes to visit Zach after work, but this time Kelly is there. Zach asks him about the offer and Jeff says that he's considering it. Zach gets lost in the conversation and Jeff notices Kelly standing at the bar, so he asks him whether he can assist her. She orders a decaf latte and Jeff is surprised by that, but she claims she only drinks it because caffeine makes her jittery. "What's in the envelope?" she blurts out, and once she realizes that she's being invasive, she apologizes for it. He tells her that it is fine and reveals that it's a job offer from the place he used to work at. Zach comes out with the lattes, but instead of handing them to them, he sits them on a table behind them so they can sit and talk. Kelly thinks it's great that Jeff has job options, but he admits that he isn't sure which one to pick yet. He asks her what she's working on, and she shows him the new interior design project that she's working on. Thinking that it's just a coincidence, he jokes about meeting many of those lately. She shows him the mock-up and he notices the maidenhair ferns immediately. Kelly thinks that they can brighten up a place and Jeff agrees as he has one in his cubicle at work. "Have we met already?" he asks as he can't help but think that she's very familiar to him. They go back and forth until Kelly remembers that he is the guy that bumped into her when getting lemon wedges. She asks him about his name and he reveals that it's Jeff. Surprised, she tells him about the Jeff she was on a date with that same night. He asks her about her name and she reveals that it's Kelly. Looking down, she sees a ring on his finger and assumes that he's married. Getting her thing, she leaves in a hurry, not letting Jeff explain himself. Once he realizes that she's seen the ring, he starts explaining that it's not how it looks, which makes it even worse. She runs off and he comes back to Zach, who makes him realize that she is the girl from the auto call. Running out of the coffee shop, he looks around for her but she is already gone. Kelly calls her bestie over so she can explain some things to her and make her feel better. She thinks that there's something wrong with the universe as she keeps bumping into the wrong guys. "I just don't think it's in the cards for me," she says as tears fill her eyes. Rachel asks her to be patient as she deserves someone real and special. Jeff runs into work the next morning to tell Tom about Kelly. He reveals to Tom that he had found the real Kelly and that's when Tom gets nervous. Luckily for him, Jeff hasn't confirmed whether it's her, so he gaslights him that it's not her. Jeff doesn't believe him as he claims that it's her voice he heard. It was her laugh that made him realize. He admits that he has no information but she did call them, so there has to be some kind of information about her somewhere. Tom tells him that the third floor handles private information but assures them that they won't give him anything since it's very confidential. Jeff heads to the third floor but Tom stops him and promises to find information for her as he has a friend on that floor. Jeff thinks that Tom is being honest with him and even thanks him for doing such an offer. Over in the girls' office, everything seems to be going smoothly. Kelly is getting all of the details for Essen's house and hopes that she would choose her to design the house. After some time, Tom comes back to the office and lies about the information not being there. He tells Jeff that there had been a computer glitch, which erased the previous week's details. However, Jeff gives him a hard time as he can't believe that they don't have a backup system. Tom lies about that as well, claiming that a new system had been installed. Jeff tries to get to the third floor by himself, but Tom stops him as he would be aggravating other people's jobs by doing so. Rachel goes to the coffee shop in the evening to thank Zach for babysitting her phone. She hands him a letter and reveals that she had recommended him to cater for an open house. She suggests they do business together if all goes well, and he falls in love with her right there on the spot. Being too nervous to ask her out, he lies about Jeff having another date at the Italian restaurant and invites her to spy on them together. The next morning is the final morning for Jeff at Auto Call. His boss claims that he is disappointed but understands why he's leaving as the job was never really good enough for him. He asks Jeff to tell him honestly why he wanted to work in their company, and he says that he always wanted to help people. "Do you feel like you did?" is what his boss asks him, and Jeff reveals that he helped one person and that's enough. He packs his stuff, says goodbye to his colleagues, and heads his way out of the building. While going down the stairs, he is accompanied by Tom, who is just using him to stay away from his desk. Tom loses the game of poker cards he is playing and whines, while on the other floor, cheering can be heard. Getting close to the sound, Tom realizes that it's Lori who has been beating him all along. They start talking about poker, completely ignoring the fact that Jeff is leaving, so he makes sure to say goodbye before leaving. At the door, he gets stopped by Tom calling for him. It seems like Tom is about to tell Jeff the truth about Kelly and what he did to her, but right as he's about to do it, he stops himself and changes the topic. At the Italian restaurant, we can see Zach and Rachel at a table together waiting for Zach's friend. Rachel asks about his friend, but Zach assures her that he will come. She claims that she can read people well, and even proceeds to analyze couples around them. She motions to the table across from them where a couple sits together. She claims that the girl is into him, but the guy isn't into her because he is distant, not making eye contact, and fidgeting like he wants to leave. Zach suggests that the man is nervous, but she claims that you should go after what you want, and you can't let nerves get in the way, especially when it comes to love. Her words get to him, so he reveals that he lured her into coming just by lying about spying. She raises her tone dramatically, but soon a smile forms on her face and she admits that it is something she would do as well. The night might be great for Zach and Rachel, but it sure is a depressive night for Jeff and Kelly. Both of them sit in a dark room and reminisce about the time they've spent with their loved ones, Kelly holding a picture of her and her ex-fiancé, and Jeff looking at old stuff of his late wife. Jeff returns to his old job the next morning, but in a new corner office. Letting it all in, he sits down and admits to feeling like he owes his boss an explanation. The reason why Jeff wanted to work in a call center was because he didn't want people to end up like his wife. She had been in a car crash and her body wasn't discovered for 24 hours. What pains him the most is that if they were to find her, she would have been alive. He admits to feeling helpless, and working in the auto call will prevent people from going through what she and he did. Time goes by and both Jeff and Kelly focus on their jobs. Despite being gone for a while, Jeff successfully presents a campaign. Both of them finally get rid of what's been holding them back, which is their ex-partners. Kelly puts all of his stuff in boxes and gets rid of them. Jeff takes all of the pictures and deletes them from the computer. Over the next few days, Jeff does everything he can to find Kelly. Every interior designer in town gets at least one call from Jeff, asking whether it's Kelly from the car accident. Unfortunately, he reveals that he hasn't found out anything about her. While playing gold with Zach, he reveals that he might be taking it slower. Zach doesn't think that he should take it slower, as he claims to love seeing him being passionate after such a long time. He admits that his passion has inspired him to go after it, meaning going after Rachel. And so he does that. It takes him sweets and coffee to do so, but he invites her on a second date and she happily says yes. It is the final day for Kelly to present her ideas with finished mock-ups to Susan, so we see her ringing the doorbell early in the morning. Susan lets her in and they get to work immediately. Kelly shows her the vintage bird cage that will go in the front window. The wood chairs will bring a rustic feel to the room, as well as keep the nostalgia of every century home living. Susan finally gives Kelly amazing news as she claims to love everything. Kelly claims that she can start immediately, so she goes to her car to get the tape measure. On the other side of the house, Jeff and his boss are discussing their new project. After finishing, they go to see Susan, which is the same time Kelly goes to her car to get the tape measurer. Susan hugs Jeff and lets him know that she's hired a new designer. They start looking through the mock-ups and Jeff can't help but notice that they're Kelly's. Right as he realizes that they are, Kelly walks into the room. Their eyes lock once he turns around and they stare at each other, not saying anything. Susan introduces them, but Kelly runs out claiming to have forgotten something in her car. Jeff runs after her and asks for a chance to explain himself. He explains that he is Jeff from Autocall, the one that rescued her. She gets even more confused and asks who the guy she went out with is. Jeff soon realizes what had happened and asks Kelly to describe the Jeff to him. He immediately realizes it is Tom she's talking about after she mentions the cowboy boots. She asks him about the ring as well, and he admits to not being able to let go of the past. But meeting her has made him realize that he finally is. He asks her whether she's ready to let go of the past. She answers his question by leaning in for a passionate kiss.